Do you ever feel like life is moving too fast and no matter what you try, you can't seem to focus, feel calm, or be happy? What if I told you that just 3 simple habits could change your life in only 1 week? Today, I'm going to share exactly what worked for me, and it can work for you too. Life often feels overwhelming. Our minds are crowded with thoughts, our phones keep buzzing, and we barely have a moment to pause. In the chaos, we forget one important truth. Small, consistent habits can create massive change. Over 1 week, I discovered 3 life-changing habits. They didn't require expensive tools, long hours, or complicated routines. Just small, intentional shifts that completely transformed how I feel, how I think, and how I approach every day. Let's dive into these 3 habits, and by the end, you'll have a clear roadmap to start your own transformation. Every morning, we are given a gift, yet most of us waste it in a rush, barely noticing it. The morning is not just the start of a new day, it is the foundation of everything that follows. If the morning is chaotic, unfocused, or rushed, the rest of the day becomes a reflection of that chaos. I used to wake up with my phone in hand, scrolling endlessly through messages, news, or social media updates, thinking that I was catching up or preparing for the day. But in reality, I was feeding my mind with distractions and unnecessary noise before I even had a chance to think clearly. I felt tired, overwhelmed, and disconnected from myself, even though I was physically awake. One morning, I decided to try something different. I chose to dedicate just 10 minutes to myself before the world demanded anything from me. I sat in silence, closed my eyes, and focused on my breath. At first, my mind was restless. Thoughts came and went like waves, pulling me in every direction. I noticed my body tense, my shoulders tight, and my heart racing with anticipation of the day. But I reminded myself that this was my moment, my sacred space. And I didn't need to fix anything. I just needed to observe, to be present, and to allow myself to feel. After a few days of practice, I realized that this simple act of pausing was already making a profound difference. I began setting intentions for my day, asking myself questions that I had never asked before. What do I want to create today? How do I want to show up in my relationships, my work, and in my own mind? What energy do I want to carry with me through each moment? These questions might seem small, but they forced me to pause and take ownership of my life. Instead of letting the day happen to me, I began shaping it with conscious thought and deliberate action. I also incorporated visualization into this ritual. I would imagine the tasks I wanted to accomplish, the conversations I hoped to have, and the mindset I wanted to maintain. I visualized challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to learn and grow. Surprisingly, this visualization brought a sense of calm and clarity that I had never experienced before. My mind became a tool rather than a battlefield. I started noticing that I approached problems with patience rather than panic, and interactions with others became warmer and more meaningful because I carried this centered energy with me. Another powerful shift came from gratitude. During this morning ritual, I began acknowledging even the smallest blessings: waking up with my health intact, having a roof over my head, the people in my life, the simple act of being alive. Gratitude, I learned, is not just an emotion, it is a lens through which we view the world. When I started my mornings with gratitude, my perspective shifted. Small frustrations felt lighter, and achievements, no matter how minor, felt fulfilling. The morning mindset ritual also strengthened my self-discipline. 10 minutes might seem insignificant, but the act of consistently prioritizing my own mental and emotional state created a ripple effect throughout my day. I became more organized, more focused, and more intentional with my choices. The simple habit of dedicating time to myself before the world demanded attention taught me that my inner state determines the quality of my life. In today's world, our attention has become one of the rarest and most precious resources. Every moment, notifications ping, messages arrive, and social media scrolls endlessly demand our focus. I realized that while I thought I was busy, I was actually scattered, reacting to every alert, every distraction, and losing hours of clarity and creativity in the process. It was as if my mind was constantly running, yet getting nowhere meaningful. I decided to experiment. For just 1 hour each morning, I would completely disconnect from my phone, my computer, and any unnecessary distractions. No notifications, no checking emails, no scrolling. At first, it felt uncomfortable. My fingers reached for my phone out of habit. My mind worried about what I was missing, and an unsettling silence filled the room. But then something remarkable happened. That quiet space, free from interruptions, became fertile ground for focus, creativity, and reflection. During this hour, I dedicated myself to one meaningful task, a project I had been putting off, writing thoughts in my journal, or simply observing my surroundings without judgment. I noticed my productivity soared. Tasks that previously seemed overwhelming were completed with ease. My mind, once fragmented by constant stimulation, began to experience flow, a state of deep engagement where time seems to vanish and the quality of my work and thought skyrockets. The digital detox also brought an unexpected emotional shift. I realized how often I had been using screens as a form of escape from discomfort, boredom, or even my own thoughts. By stepping away, I was forced to sit with myself, to confront my feelings, and to observe my mind without judgment. It was uncomfortable at first, but this discomfort became a teacher. I learned patience, self-awareness, and the value of presence. One of the most profound lessons was how this habit reshaped my relationships. I noticed that when I spent less time looking at screens and more time giving undivided attention to people around me, conversations deepened. Listening became more intentional, empathy came naturally, and connections felt authentic. I discovered that true presence, not just being physically near someone, but truly attending to them, was a gift far more valuable than any message or notification. The practice of focused attention also reminded me that time is not just measured by minutes, but by the quality of engagement. 1 hour of complete focus can produce far more meaningful results than several hours of scattered busyness. I began to see that distractions were not just interruptions, they were a slow erosion of clarity, calmness, and creativity. By reclaiming even small pockets of attention, I was reclaiming my life. The final habit that transformed my life in just 1 week was perhaps the simplest, yet the most profound: practicing gratitude and reflection every day. I had always thought gratitude was something we feel naturally when good things happen. But I realized that true gratitude is a practice. It is a conscious choice to notice, appreciate, and reflect on the positive aspects of life, even amidst challenges. Each evening, I dedicated a few minutes to sit quietly and write down 3 things I was grateful for that day. At first, the habit felt almost mechanical. I would jot down obvious things: my health, my home, my family, but as I persisted, something shifted. I began noticing smaller, subtler blessings that I had previously overlooked. The smile of a stranger, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the laughter of a friend, or even the lesson hidden in a frustrating situation. These small acknowledgements began to accumulate like tiny drops filling a cup. And gradually my perspective started to change. Reflection became a companion alongside gratitude. I would review my day, not to criticize myself or dwell on mistakes, but to learn and understand. I asked myself, what did I do well today? What could I have approached differently? How did I show up for myself and others? This process created clarity. I began to see patterns in my behavior, to recognize what nurtured my happiness, and to identify habits that drained my energy. Reflection turned every day into an opportunity for growth, and gratitude gave each of those days meaning. I also noticed how this habit affected my emotional state. When my mind focused on what was going right, even small frustrations felt lighter. I was less reactive, less anxious, and more present. Gratitude didn't erase challenges or difficulties, it simply changed my lens, allowing me to see life with more balance, compassion, and peace. I began to approach problems not as obstacles to my happiness, but as moments to learn and grow. This habit also strengthened my relationships. When I expressed gratitude to others, thanking someone for their support, kindness, or presence, it deepened connections and created a sense of warmth and trust. Gratitude became a language, a way of communicating appreciation and recognizing the value of those around me. Even small acknowledgements had a ripple effect, creating positivity that spread beyond myself. Over the course of a week, I realized that gratitude and reflection were not just practices, they were a mindset. They trained my mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, on growth rather than mistakes, and on presence rather than distraction. This habit reminded me that life is not just about achieving big goals or seeking extraordinary experiences. It is about noticing the ordinary, appreciating the everyday, and cultivating a sense of wonder and thankfulness in every moment. My dear friends, life is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about creating the right moment within yourself. These three habits, starting your morning with intention, protecting your focus, and practicing gratitude, aren't just routines. They are a way of saying, I matter, my time matters, my mind matters. If you commit to these habits, even for just 1 week, you will notice something extraordinary. Your mind becomes calmer, your energy sharper, and your heart lighter. You begin to see life not as a series of challenges to survive, but as a journey to experience, to grow, and to enjoy. Remember, change does not need to be massive or complicated. Small steps, repeated consistently, create transformation that feels almost magical. And the most beautiful part is this: you don't need anyone's permission to begin. You don't need a special day or a special reason. The moment to start is right now within you. So take this gift of awareness, take these three habits, and see how 1 week can change everything. And as you walk forward, know this: the power to shape your life has always been in your hands.